one, we fought communism for a long time. We know what it is. And two, there are too many refugees from communist countries in the U.S. now who are like, don't listen to these people. They're fucking stupid.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's a lot of migrants here. They're like, dude, we fled from that, and now they're watching America turn into that, and they're freaking out. So, and there's nowhere to run. There's nowhere to go. Like people say, well, get the hell out of this country. Where are you gonna go, man? This is the last place.
Let's go.
Welcome to Citizen. We got a special guest today, David Niño Rodriguez. He used to beat people up for a living.
Still do.
Oh, sweet.
No, I don't.
Tell me before we get into your career and everything. Tell me where you grew up.
On the border, so I'm right here in ground zero, man. El Paso, Texas, border, Ciudad Juarez. So I grew up on both sides of the border. I grew up in Mexico and in and on the American side. So I've seen both sides, and it's a very different, culturally diverse place to grow up, but you learn really fast here. Being a border boy, you learn real fast. It's different than anywhere else in the country, that's for sure.
What do you mean by that?
Well, let's put it this way. By the time I was 13, 14, I was trafficking drugs. I was partying in Juarez, going over to the other side of the bridge. I mean, I knew that criminal element really well by the time I was 15. I was very well versed on everything that was going on both sides. I knew a lot of the tunneling systems. I knew I knew the whole criminal element over there. It was just the way we all grew up here. I was throwing parties over there at the clubs, drinking drown parties for $5, getting a buck a head, coming out every weekend making $2,000-$3,000. By the time I was 15 years old, I was stealing cars and taking them over there to get stripped down and so it was a different upbringing. Not all kids were like that, but I grew up with a rough group of friends, and when you have another country at your disposal, literally, you can get away with anything. And especially back then, it was like the Wild West. Not so much now, especially after 2001, but not so much now. But like after 2001, really everything changed. But it was a fast upbringing, dude. It was you definitely get street smart really fast.
And was one or both of your parents first generation?
Yeah. So, well, my grandfather was from Mexico. So my dad was born here in El Paso. So, but I mean, he was raised most of his life in Mexico. So, but my mom is whiter than white, man. She's blonde, blue eyes, German. So, both my family was at war. Both sides were at war with each other all the time.
Yeah.
Upbringing.
So. Which did your parents stay together? Were they together when you were a kid?
Yeah, they're still together, man.
Oh, good.
And that's with everything that's going on in with my podcast, on YouTube and stuff like that, everyone knows kind of what's going on. I have very sick parents, both were vaccinated and they got sick. They're both sick now, so I'm dealing with one parent that has seizures and the other one that's dementia. So and I mean, it escalated fast right after they got the jab.
How old are they?
89, 85. So they're obviously, I know I'm realistic with how old they are, but I still contributed to getting jabbed because I told everyone, I go, if they do this, and they did it behind my back, because I was telling them till I was blue in the face, do not get it.
Yeah.
The doctor talked them into it. They're older. They're very, they don't know what's going on. And now the decline has just been rapid.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not a great idea, generally speaking, to change shit up a lot when you're in your 80s, especially introducing something that's going to alter the way your immune system operates. That seems like a really bad idea.
Yeah, but their age, they trust.
Oh yeah,
they just trust the doctors. That's how they're that older generation. They're like right there at the cusp of the World War II generation. So they thought they're doing the right thing, and they watch Fox News, and dude, it's just yeah, I have a bone to pick with all these MSM stations. It makes me sick.
Yeah.
That like literally the ones they killed off really are the elderly, and now the youth is going to be sick over this and have problems the rest of their life, you know. So, yeah, I'm very distraught over it, to be
Yeah.
honest with you.
Well, this
And
has
right now,
been like an ongoing thing. It's slow rolled through the 50s and 60s, but it's ramped up quite a bit since the 70s. People
yeah,
with people with systemic conditions, like stuff that's never going away, for example, right?
oh,
Um, are like thousands of percent higher now in the population than they were in the 1940s. And that generation, your parents' generation, is the one that was probably lied to the most. They were lied to in so many different ways. One, the food pyramid, which is absolute dog shit. You were a professional athlete, you know all about that. Like,
yeah,
the
yeah,
human body doesn't need 12 servings of fucking grain a day. I don't know why.
and
Like,
bread,
yeah, it's
yeah,
like bread's for poor people, man. Like in
yeah,
America, we're rich, and I don't mean like the way Bill Gates is rich. I mean the way that most of the world survives on less than $1 a day, right? Like about 90% of the
yeah,
world. So
yeah,
bread is what we eat when we're getting ready to eat real food. And the idea that you put that in at the at the base, like this is your base. Let's start with the
right,
bread. It's like, no, you shouldn't even be eating that shit. I mean,
exactly.
now and then is fine, but like,
Dude, we
shoot,
shouldn't even be eating as much as we are. I'm fasting now. I fast for like 20 hours at a time now. I'm
yeah,
like, I don't need, when I was a pro athlete and I was training every day, I was eating 3, 4 times a day because I had to have that
mm,
caloric intake. But now, shit, man, I go 20 hours right on I don't need to eat. I
yeah,
just have trained my body now where I don't need to eat that much. And I've lost a lot of weight and I don't have allergies like I used to. I don't get sick. You know, I just been feeling like optimal. I've been feeling good, you know, just fasting. That's been the best thing for me, just to speak for myself. That's what's been working for me. I give myself a little bit of window of time to eat, and that's that, you know, because I'm
yeah,
not training like I used to, man. I don't train like that anymore.
yeah. Speaking of train, let's get back to the early days. So you're acting like a wild asshole for a while, and
Oh yeah.
then somehow you get into this is a pretty common story actually for boxing. MMA, every now and again you'll hear a story like that, but in boxing especially, you see a lot of dudes coming into gyms off the street. The reason is because in the 1980s, that was one of the main youth outreach and
Yeah.
gang cities, right? That was one of the biggest ones was
Yep.
boxing. So
Yeah.
tell me your story. How'd you get involved in this?
So yeah, I was just getting picked on a lot as a kid, and every day I was having to, you know, fight, you know, and from even at a young age, because I was looked at as the widow. Like I said, El Paso is very machismo, and especially like you said in the '80s and '90s, man, like we didn't have the problems that the kids have today. Everything was very over masculated, especially in a Mexican rich city. I was picked on a lot as a kid, and my dad basically said, "That's it, no more of this shit." He took me to the boxing gym, dropped me off in the ghetto. Boxing gyms back then were only in the ghetto. They were not. They're not just like what you see these whitewashed, white collar gyms, UFC gyms. This was only for the poor kids, man. You had money, you didn't go to a boxing gym. You dropped me off there. I started learning how to fight by the Army Fort Bliss trainer, and next thing you know, man, I by the time I was 13, 14, I knocked out the junior Olympic champion and on my first amateur fight, and it was just it was off to the races from there, man. It wasn't easy. Obviously, I had a lot of upsets in the amateurs as well, but it was boxing is what saved me because I couldn't stay in school. I was always in trouble. I was always fighting. I was always going to alternative. I was always going to ISS. I was going to behavioral improvement courses. I couldn't. I was expelled like from 4 different schools in one year. I mean, I was always in trouble, and I had a terrible attention span. But the only thing that was to me my saving grace was boxing. Like going to the boxing gym. I did not like team sports, and when I was uh, boxing, then next thing you know, I just developed a hell of a left hook and started knocking everybody out. By the time I was 12 years old, they'd bring in the UTEP football team, grown men, and I'd knock them. I'd starch them. I was
Mm.
actually starching them with a left hook, and unbelievable. And they started doing newspaper write-ups about me. And next thing you know, by the time I'm 20, 21, I turned pro, and I 36 straight, 36 straight wins, 34 KOs, 24 in the first round. And I was the top protege, the top prospect in the world for about a good 4 year window. And I couldn't get a fight to save my life because I could punch with both hands, and I started getting frustrated when I wasn't getting a title shot, and started having problems with my management. And I'm not going to play victim here. I was an alcoholic at the same time, due to the years I had in being 13, 14, going to Juarez and partying there. I couldn't break the alcoholism, and ultimately that caught up to me, man. By the time I was 33, 34, it really caught up to me, and I just started slipping, and I started cutting corners, and I got knocked the fuck out. I went in with Darnell Wilson, and we fought at the on NBC Wild World of Sport. We had the fight of the year, and it was a brutal fight, man. And I got caught the last 10 seconds, caught me with a left hook, knocked me out. Couldn't believe it. My streak of 36-0 was over. But that came after. Okay, that came after in 2011. Sorry. Side note: I almost died twice. I overdosed on drugs, flatline. They brought me back with a defibrillator. Came back, won 2 more titles. Then I was walking out of a bar, and some thugs came behind me and slit my throat, and I lost 2 pints of blood, and I just was not able to rebound after that, man. It really did take something out of from my soul, and I just was never the same. I just was never the same. So when I tried to come back and fight, I lost 2 fights in a row. So my record went from hero to zero. I went from 36-0 to like bum, like champ to chump. Like I saw the heights in the clouds to the depths of I hit rock bottom, and rock bottom had a basement, and my whole life changed, and I went through years of depression, and finally, and I mean, a really dark place. I was broke. I was using a lot of drugs. I was still drinking. And then in 2020, when that COVID hit, I changed my life. I quit alcohol, and I'm proud to say now I'm 4 years and 8 months sober, and I'm living a clean life, and I feel so much better about myself, and my life has just completely changed. I don't really even watch boxing anymore, or UFC, or any of that stuff. I just do my podcasting now, and that's just been blowing up. It's been taking off really well, and it's been an exciting ride. It's different. I sit on a chair all day, but it's different than training 8 hours a day, but it has its perks. It's been a lot. It's taken a lot of adjusting.
Yeah, I mean, there was a time where you had, I think it was I don't know, I think you set the record in 2011, if I'm not mistaken. I don't remember when it got broken, but you had the highest first round knockout ratio in heavyweight history.
Yeah.
For a while. I think it lasted for a little while.
It didn't make sense. Yeah, and that's if you want to know the truth, that broke me, because I had so many expectations on me. If I went longer than 3 rounds or something like that, I thought something was wrong with me. Like I was just, and it was just unrealistic. I couldn't keep the expectations, man. People were buying tickets to just watch the knockout. I remember when I would fight, people would just come to watch me knock somebody out. I would actually think before the fight, like I wasn't thinking about winning. I was thinking about, how am I going to knock this guy out different than I knocked out the other guy? I mean, it was too, and I know that sounds crazy, but it really was like that. And I couldn't live up to the expectations. And ultimately it killed me. It ultimately got too heavy of a burden. And I almost was looking for a way out. I was looking for a way out. I didn't want to box anymore. I was tired of it. It became like slavery to me. I was not getting along with my management or my trainer. My trainer was an asshole towards the end there, and I couldn't deal with it, dude. And it broke me.
Well, I mean, that happens.
It's an unrealistic life.
If you're like fucking, if you're crushing people in the first or second round every fight, and there's still no upward mobility. I mean, that's like hitting 50 home runs and not getting a contract the next year. You're like, what the fuck? What's going on, man?
Yeah, but see, everyone was like, well, he's got to go the distance. He's got to get and then they put me in the ring with these guys that were testers.
I mean, Tyson didn't go the distance until Buster Douglas, right? I mean, he lost the fight.
No, he
right?
he went the distance with there was a few Bone Crusher Smith people.
Oh,
like
that's
that.
right, Bone Crusher. Yeah.
Yeah, he had some tough fights, and they put me in with guys that they thought were going to test me, and I ended up knocking them out, man. And it was just like, dude, they were trying to work me up the ladder properly, but it was just I had a very sharp, powerful left hook, right hand. I mean, the combinations. But like I said, in my 30s, I started. I had an explosive style, so being a guy my size, 6'5", 245 when I was fighting. I should have been fighting off my jab more and have more of a boxing type of style, conventional boxing style. But I was very explosive, and once you start losing just a hair reaction time or your speed just a little bit, that explosive style does not work anymore, especially for a guy my size. And so I started getting hit with more jabs. I started getting hit with right hands, and then I started noticing that right when I turned about 30, that I started getting caught with a lot more punches that I didn't used to get caught with. So, but I didn't know how to box, bro. I didn't know how to like really sit back on my jab and angle people out of the way and like the Klitschko. I didn't know how to do that. I knew how to work combinations and angles and pivots, and it was like that was my style. That's just what I was used to. So ultimately, it was my demise.
And then, you know, you take that. This is a big thing for men in general. It's something I talk about a lot with the vet community too. But once you lose, I guess the purpose, right? Once you lose whatever it is you were running towards, running becomes quite a bit more difficult. I mean, try to do stuff without motivation on any given day, and it can be difficult. But try to do it every day, right? It becomes extremely difficult. So, what was that like for you?
I lost the fire. I didn't want to train anymore towards the end. I was cutting corners and I wasn't enjoying it anymore. And also the recovery, dude, was so brutal. And I know these, like I talked to BJ Penn and like a lot of my friends that are in the UFC, Nick Diaz and Nate Diaz, and I would talk to them about this stuff. And it's the same thing. It's like when the recovery becomes as hard as the training, like when you're just like having to take, I remember you used to just take a nap, dude. I'd go take a nap, go fucking run 3 miles, you know what I mean? And then come back and take another nap. It got to the point where I was popping ibuprofen, pain pills. I couldn't recover. I needed 8 or 9 hours sleep instead of 6. I couldn't get up in the mornings at 5 to go run. I had to get up at 9 or 10. Like when that stuff starts happening, that's usually the red flag of like time to go, leave the sport, because you want to leave the sport before the sport leaves you.
Yeah.
And I didn't do that. And most fighters don't do that, by the way. Like I still know guys that are boxing right now that are like are in their late 30s and 40s that are like, oh, I'm making a comeback, man. I feel great. I feel better than I ever did. I'm in the best shape of my life. I'm like, no, that's not it. You just haven't found anything to replace it, and you're just retorting. You're going backwards now and coming up with whatever excuse you need to motivate yourself that you're going to get back in there and become champ. And it doesn't happen, man. It's like this is a young man's game. You're old at 30 in most cases. You know, you're old at 30. So I definitely went past my prime for a while, and I paid the price.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, maybe you did and maybe you didn't, though. Like the diet and alcohol stuff probably brought you down a little bit. I mean, that inflammation is hard to battle.
You're right about that. Let's not leave that out. Yeah. I definitely burned the candle both ends. I'm not going to say I didn't. I did. So, yeah, I paid the price on that. There are guys that can last into 30, 35. It's usually, but like I said, it's not really the guys that have that explosive type of style. It's the more of the guys that have that conventional boxing style that last a little longer, that work the jab, that are more patient in the ring. They got a high IQ of going the distance. You know, I never really developed a high IQ in boxing because I was always knocking people out. So that was my detriment as well. So I never really got the rounds in. So that also was to my demise.
Yeah. I mean, boxing is one of the ones where it used to be like tennis, right? And tennis is it's still kind of like this. Like we get the wrong idea about tennis because of Djokovic and, you know, how he's been able to sustain eliteness into his mid to late 30s. But the better, I think even at the high end of performance for those guys, I think the high end, typically speaking, would be somebody more like Nadal, who after 34 completely fell off the map, right?
Yeah.
Now he still will go out and win a tournament every now and again, but it's nothing like it used to be. It's very difficult on your body, man, to do the training. You talk about the recovery afterwards. If you've got inflammation in your body, I mean, think of it as trying to push water through a hose that's all clogged up or shit or something like that. I mean, you're just not, your body's not getting the nutrients it needs. It's not getting hydrated correctly. You're not getting electrolytes into your blood, into your muscles and stuff like that. I mean, you're fucked at that point.
100%. If you look at someone like I'm watching the train wreck right now with Ryan Garcia,
Mm.
and I'm just going like, dude, don't do this to yourself, man. Like
Yeah, I
what
mean,
you're
he needs
doing
to go
right
to a
now.
brain. He needs to go to a brain clinic because he got popped too many times,
I
and
think he
it's
has
just not
CTE. I
working.
think you're
Yeah,
right. Something ain't right, dude. Like the
yeah,
shit that he. But you got to remember, like you live by the sword, you die by the sword. How did he get to the point he is? Besides having an unbelievable talent, he
mm,
has that kid is so shining. He should be the poster boy for the for boxing. He is the shining star. He should be. But what got him there also was not only his amazing talent, but social media, right? So he's constantly on social media just vomiting and just diarrheaing all over the post and just saying the craziest shit, dude. That is not obviously we all know he's having mental breakdowns. He's not mentally stable. And watching this, I don't even think rehab can clear that up. I mean, this looks to me like you're right. Like he's suffering from brain damage and
mm.
compulsively. I don't know if they're lies or what or just exaggerations or what's going on, but I was at Bohemian Grove, or we're gonna have an earthquake 6/6/24, whatever the fuck. And it's just like one thing after another. Like he needs that shock adrenaline rush to like he needs to be viable on social media all the time, all the time. And when someone's like that, and you expect them to be champion, but they already have all the attention they need. What the fuck do they need to fight for a belt for?
Mm.
Everything he goes on social media and probably makes 5-10 grand just off donations, just going on there doing a live. Tell me why he needs to fight. He's already got it all. He's already partying with all the celebrities. He's already doing everything he needs to do. What motivation does he have to go fight for a belt and mess up his good looks? I mean, the kid. I'm just saying, like the kid is a sensation, but I got a feeling like we're just seeing the beginning of the train wreck. Like this is going to be really bad for him.
Yeah, I mean, there are ways to reverse that stuff, um, but it's
Yeah, but
mostly
he's an alcoholic,
yeah. I
dude.
mean, you got to be like you got to come off the booze for 6 months
Yeah,
first,
yeah,
and then you've got to do something pretty extreme like ibogaine or something like
yeah.
that.
And I agree with you, but this kid's young. He's what
He's
else
like
is he,
24,
24?
I think, right?
Yeah, he's not gonna
Yeah,
dude, I
he's
didn't
like
learn till I was 35. I
yeah,
was like,
yeah.
oh, I did shit wrong.
Yeah, I mean that's the kind of damage to the head you don't see until way later in a boxing career. So it makes me think maybe there's something else going on. Maybe it's congenital or something. He's just got, the plaque
I think
plaque
it
that
could be
builds
the
up.
boxing.
It could be, yeah, no question. But the plaque, well, second impact syndrome, getting hit, getting knocked out, soft knockout, and then getting hard knocked out right afterwards can really fuck your brain up. Um,
100%. Like
yeah,
I know that for me, I have some kind of CTE. I know for a fact I do, but I don't know how severe it is. Maybe as I get older, I'll see. But there's fighters that I've known growing up. I've been in this sport my entire life that literally get CTE in a sparring session, and they're never the same. We used to have guys that we'd fly in from Detroit, LA, whatever, wherever, that would come in as my sparring partners. And these dudes were like knuckle dragging, huge fucking animals, bro. That you would think that would never, that you didn't think there was like Iron Man, like guys that like I would punch and be like, damn, man, this guy could take a punch. They would leave my camp and then go to another camp, and then they'd come back like 6, 7 months later, and they're like
mm,
slurring of speech, and I'm like, wow, bro, I haven't seen you in 6 months, and you're like this already. I mean, there's some guys that can go 10, 15, 20 years, and you'll never see any kind of brain
mm.
damage. And then some guys, from one day to the next, or I don't see them for a couple months, bam, brain damage. And it's just like I consider myself pretty lucky that I can still formulate a sentence. So
Mm.
and have a podcast, for God's sakes. So yeah, I think I'm one of the lucky ones, to be honest with you. Obviously I got a very bad injured back, but then I got an L4 L5 S1 fusion. But other than that, I consider myself pretty damn lucky.
Have you ever tried stem cells or any of that bullshit?
Yeah, I didn't notice much. I do C60. So C60, I've been taking C60, and that's been actually very, very helpful in my inflammation.
Yeah, inflammation.
In fact, it's gone from,
Go ahead.
well, I was gonna say I used to have like an 8 or 9 on the. If it was like a 1 to 10, I'd be always like 8 or 9, always like gritting my teeth. And now it's about a 2 to a 3. So I'm good.
Yeah. That's quite a bit better. Yeah. So you get out of boxing mid 30s, right? Mid to
Yeah.
late 30s, I guess. And what do you do? What for the next couple of years? What do you do?
Oh, I was lost, bro. I was partying with Nick Diaz and Nate Diaz in Vegas, living in motels, gambling junkie, blew all my boxing money, partying with those guys constantly, man. Like and it was so like ridiculous. Like, I mean, um, it was every night. I mean, yeah, every night in Vegas, I was with those guys, and it was I just started feeling like a fucking groupie, and I was like, I gotta change my life, and I went back to Texas to restart, and that was the hardest thing ever because I come back to El Paso, where I used to be a hometown hero, and now I'm like the hometown zero, and I have to just figure out a way to rebuild my life, But I knew I wasn't going to do it in Vegas, living in Vegas. I knew I wasn't going to do it partying with those guys and just living a life of debauchery and dysfunction. So I came back to El Paso, and I just really had, dude, it was the scariest time of my life because I had nothing, dude. Like, it was like I didn't have a house to live in. I was living at my parents' house. I had a little bit of money in the bank account. I was still going to the bars in El Paso, but now it's like now the difference was I wasn't partying in Vegas clubs. I was partying in like fucking dive bars with like other drunks and like
Mm.
really watching my life go downhill quick. And it was scary. And it was like that for a while, a long, long while. Like I would say 10 years of my life of just debauchery and just blackness, dude. Like I was suicidal every day. Every day I woke up was like the worst day of my life. Like that's how bad it was. And just finally I said, I said, how do have I ever given God a real chance? Like before I blow my brains out, and I was going to. I thought, have I ever really given God a chance? Can I say really that I quit drinking or I quit drugs and I gave that a chance? And I did. The answer was no. So I was at a bar I was at the fucking local dive bar here, Lloyd's Pub. And I was with my friends and I was looking at them and I was like, they're all fucking 45, 50 years old. We're all fucking washed up at the bar. And I'm looking at them and I'm like, just thinking about how my life used to be and where I'm at now. And I'm like, I don't want to be like these guys. And I looked in the mirror behind the bar and I was like, fuck. I was all sweaty and double chin and shit. And I was like, oh, dude, I am this. This is who I am now. So I took one last drink of my beer and I put it down. And I said, if I don't leave right now and change my life, this is it forever. And I'm going to die. I fucking took one drink. I put the beer down. I even left the tequila shot that was there. I didn't want to take it. I just left it there. I walked out, gave it peace out, and goes, hey guys, I'll be right back. And I have never gone back since. And that was it.
I was
And
gonna
I had to
ask
make
if
it.
there was like a fucking rock bottom moment, or did you catch yourself before that? It seems like you just like that's what happened. This is not even close to as an extreme situation, but I smoked when I was in the army, right? And I
Yeah,
got out. I'm like, this is fucking what a waste of time and money this is.
yeah.
So I went to the VA and got the Nicorette gum or whatever the fuck it was. I don't know if it was Nicorette
Did that
specifically. It was
even
some kind
work?
of gum.
Yes,
Hell,
it did.
well, I don't know. I chewed it for like 2 days. I'm like, this is fucking gay, man. I'm just gonna stop smoking. It's can't. How hard could it be? And it wasn't very
Right,
hard, frankly. I just decided to not do it anymore, and I didn't do it anymore, and I haven't.
right.
Right? It's like it sounds like yours is a more extreme situation, but it sounds like you just got fucking tired of that shit. To be honest.
Dude, I just didn't want to be. I just knew that the next 5 years of my life, like, where did I see myself?
Mm.
I saw myself dead. I mean, well, I had every reason to believe that because I almost died twice in 2011. How many more fucking hall passes do I got? I got none. Like, I mean, how many times can God try to wake you up? I mean, fucking flatline, bro. Like,
Mm.
not many people say they fucking flatlined. They brought me back with a defibrillator. And this is twice in a year, dude. Twice in 2011. I still didn't learn my lesson. Like that was it. I was like, I have to quit drinking. So I did, and my life completely fucking changed. Like I could not believe, and it wasn't like quick, but like it took about a year and a half. But then all of a sudden the podcasting stuff took off, and it's become a business, and it's very well. And now I'm like living a better life. I'm clean.
Mm.
I'm gonna go and get, I'm planning to get baptized. I'm just changed. I've just changed, bro. Like I'm just on a whole different path now. And um, I every now and then run into friends that are still in that life, and I just feel so bad for them, dude, because it's something that you just have to decide to do. Like a lot of people tell me, go to AA and go into group therapy. I'm like, dude, I quit cold turkey.
Mm.
I quit, and like you did, just like you quit cigarettes, and that's it. Like I made up my mind to do it, and I did it, and that's it. And there's no going back now, And I do believe you have to have a relationship with God, because I do. And that's what keeps me strong. I do believe in that spiritual realm, and I'm like, all right, it's a spiritual contract. I can't break this.
You said something interesting. It's like, where am I going, or who am I, or whatever. I think it's a good question to ask. If you're if you're a person that's unhappy, chances are it's a result of you not being happy with the person you are, right? Because people that are
Oh yeah,
comfortable in our own skin are typically pretty happy people. And it might be an important thing. In fact, it definitely is an important thing to do, is to, if you're feeling miserable, ask yourself that question. Do I want to be the person that I'm acting like right now? And if not, then the solution is as simple as changing your behavior. Now, it can be complicated sometimes. Sometimes there are physical addiction and shit like that. But you can control your attitude and your effort in life and nothing more, right? Shit's going to happen sometimes. There's going to be another bad day. And if your solution to the bad day is to go back to whatever bullshit you were doing before, you're just not going to make it. You know what I mean?
no, man.
It's just not going to work out for you. So you got to, the only person, there's nobody coming to save you either. You got to save yourself.
100%.
So I wonder, I'm not religious, but I wonder, what do you think it was about God or religion, or whatever it is
Well, I'm not
that
religious either.
right. Well, what do you think? What do you think it was about whatever relationship you have with God that made a difference for you? What was it exactly?
The same way I got into the ring, bro. Like every time you go in there, you're putting your life in jeopardy. I mean, it's like you're stepping into the unknown. And I would pray before I went to the ring, and I'd get in the ring and make the sign of the cross. I don't go to church, okay? I don't, but I do believe in Christ, and I have been my whole life. That's me. That's just who I am, and I've always felt that connection. And um, I just know it's there, dude. I just feel it, and that's enough for me. That's really is enough for me. I just feel very connected, and I talk to God all day long. I
Mm-hmm.
pray, and a lot of people don't. And I'm not one to Bible thump or anything like that. Like I said, I can't even fucking name a verse out of the Bible, but I just know the connection's there, dude. Like this is not an accident. None of this shit's an accident. It's just not. I don't give a fuck what these occult Satanists fucking tell you. It's not an accident. This is we are all part of this fucking massive, amazing, intelligent creation. And it's just it's as simple as picking up the phone, like that's how I feel like the connection to God is. I'm always on the phone with him. And that's what helped me get through it all. I just like I said, it was time for me to give God a chance and stop trying to do shit my way.
Um, so maybe it was just having some, like, this is my theory on that, is maybe it was having something outside of yourself that was more important than your own
Yeah.
enjoyment. I mean, so I don't know if you saw this, but on shit, it was probably about a year ago now. Shia LaBeouf was on John Bernthal's show, just talking about how he was
Yeah.
a miserable cunt most of his
Yeah.
adult life. You know what I mean? And it was
Right.
like,
Yeah.
most of my adult life, because he was wealthy, right? He had a fucked up relationship with his dad, and they became wealthy because he was on shows starting at like 12 years old or something.
Yeah.
It's like most of my life I was trying to be happy. Every day I woke up and my goal was to be happy. And you're at that point, you may as well be a heroin addict, right? You're chasing the dragon every single day. You
Right.
you need
Right.
that dopamine hit, otherwise you're miserable all day, right? And it compounds day after day. And he said once he met the woman that would become his wife, he was like, now I just want to be useful, right? So I had kids, and now I've got something to do. You know what I mean? I'm useful to these
Yeah.
people. And now, ironically, I'm happy because I've been useful, right? And I think it speaks to the fact that we are biologically designed to have purpose, just like every other animal that exists. I mean, if you look at an Australian shepherd that's sitting in a house in an apartment complex somewhere in the city, they're not having a good time. That's not where they're supposed to be. You know what I
Good
mean?
point. Yeah.
And if you're
Yeah.
miserable, it's very likely that you're not where you're supposed to be. And I don't mean like you're with the wrong person or something like that and you should blow your family up. What I mean is you need to redirect the way your energy flows from inside of you to outside of you. Because if your primary goal every day is yourself, then you're fucked. That's not how we are programmed to operate. It's just not,
I
right?
agree. Yeah. And I was chasing the adrenaline rush, the serotonin dumps, the glory. I mean, dude, how do you fucking replace 17,000 packed arena and knocking a dude out is to me like crack, boom, he's starched, he's snoring, and then you run and jump on the ropes and everyone's holding up signs and Nino and fucking, then you take home ring girls. I mean, it was constant fucking adrenaline dumps, adrenaline. Like that was my life. And then I'd go party for a month just to keep the adrenaline going, promiscuous sex constantly. I mean, that's just my life, dude. And that's just the way it was. How do you go from that to like, it was so, but it took deaths. It took me fucking almost dying. And now I look back on that and I get exhausted just thinking about my prior life. I call it my prior life because now my happiness is just peace. I just want peace. I don't want anyone fucking with me. I don't need to go to events. I don't need anyone stroking my ego. I don't need to go anywhere. I just like my peace of mind. I want to be able to sleep at night and that's it. That's my happiness now. I've realized like I don't need a lot of people in fact I have like no friends now. Like compared to like what I had in boxing, jeez, what 30, 35 friends now, nobody. I don't fucking talk to anybody and that's fine and that's okay with me. You got to be okay with yourself. And I'm at peace. And that's the most important thing to me is being at peace because my life was so chaotic. I never had peace. The only peace I had was when I was in the ring. Think about that. Like fighting, really? Like that's where I found my peace. That's a horrible way to find peace. Now, man, uh, just being able to, I can sit alone now. I can sit on the couch and watch TV and enjoy a program. I never used to be able to do that.
Yeah, I mean it's that's not surprising to anybody in our audience, probably because many of them have served in the military during the global war on terror, and I can tell you from
Wow.
my personal experience that the only place I felt at home for a good 20 years was in war. You know what I mean?
Combat.
Yeah, it's like that's where
Dude.
that's
Yeah.
where I was supposed to be. That's where I was doing shit
Yeah.
that mattered. You know what I mean?
What's that movie, Hurt Locker? I watched that
Yeah,
and I'm
yeah.
like, dude, I feel like that. I
Mm,
was constantly fighting and I felt like I can't get used to regular life. It was like a sea of chaos in my chest all the time and
mm,
nerves and like I couldn't like social anxiety and like I just had to be in the shit. I had to be training. I had to
yeah.
be fighting. Like it's fucking terrible, man. And now I'm not like that anymore. I mean, I get brief glimpses of it here and there, but
Mm.
not like it was, man.
Well, it's because we think that we're gonna come home and put that down and just become ordinary again, and that'll never happen, right? You just got to find an outlet for that energy, and it doesn't have to be beating people up, right? Like the
No,
masculine energy is defensive and offensive, right? It's not always
100%.
just about being offensive. Sometimes it's about when you're on a fucking airplane and some lady tries to put a bag up overhead, you just stand before she can ask, you stand up and do it for her, right?
Right.
You like
Yeah.
you are given things for whether you believe in religion, whatever the fuck or else or not, doesn't matter. Even if you're just a naturalist, every gift you have is meant for the betterment of your community. That's how it works, right?
I agree.
So if you've got
Agree.
strength and power, then you need to use it for good. If you don't, you're going to be a miserable piece of shit all the time. Right, I've been there. I've been there
Yeah.
myself. I was
Yeah.
angry, like fuck this, like everybody's
Yeah.
stupid, and I was right. Everybody is fucking stupid. But me being a dick about it's not making me any happier. You know what I mean? It's just like you
Yeah.
gotta wade through that bullshit. Like help people. It's Gandhi used to say, if you want to find yourself, truly find yourself, lose yourself in the service of others, because that's how we are
It's
biologically programmed to operate.
it's interesting you say that because when I was at my worst, I was going to schools and talking to kids in alternative classes, not making a dime, just going there, dressing up in a suit. I had to have purpose. So I would dress up in a suit, take some of my championship belts, put them on display, and talk about how I was bullied in school, and they would start laughing, and I thought it was hilarious. I loved it when they would laugh at my stories because they're so humiliating. But I knew I was helping kids because if they're laughing at to my expense, I mean, when I used to get beat up or whatever when I
Mm,
on the school ground or whatever, like if they're laughing at that, like I talked about how I pissed myself at lunch because some bigger kid was picking on me and I peed in front of everybody
mm,
and and they start laughing and then I know there's a kid in there that's experiencing that same thing and he's laughing and he's going, you know what, I don't got it so bad. And if this guy can get through that and become a champion, you know, fuck, what can I do? Like so I went to talk to a lot of schools and that's where I found purpose for like 3 to 5 years I was doing that. And I would go to the school smelling like a fucking liquor cabinet, dude. Like I was going in hungover, but I knew I still had to go because the only purpose I had was, for me to get up in the morning was to go help these kids and talk to schools. And I was booking one school after the next. I mean, I wasn't getting paid a dime, but that was my only purpose. And I knew to do that. I knew to at least do that. And, that's what I did. Yeah, that was a big part of my life for I would say about maybe 3 to 4 years. And uh, I finally stopped doing that because just the liberal indoctrination into these schools, like they didn't want me talking about defending yourself. They didn't want me talking about fighting back or anything like that. They were trying to like tailor and dictate my speeches. And I finally said, I've had enough. I can't do this to the way you want me to do it because it's just not. I'm now not coming from a place of truth. I'm not going to get up here and talk about how everyone should be a pussy, and just accept it, and
yeah.
coddle everybody because that's not life, dude. And that's what the teachers and principals would pull me aside and be like, look, we know you're a boxer, but we really don't want to push the self defense thing. We rather them talk to counselors. We rather them, and please try to use pronouns. I'm like, nah, fuck, I'm out. I'm done. I'm done.
Good Lord.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they were trying to get me to use pronouns, bro. Can you please say not he or she, but can you say they, them? I'm like, I'm done. You guys have finally lost it.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm fucking out. And I left. And I never went back to these schools
Yeah.
because it did change, dude, from one year to the next. Like I was like, what?
Yeah. It was like 2017 or something.
Yeah.
All of a sudden,
Yeah.
people wanted
Yeah, dude. It
like,
just started getting weird,
yeah.
bro. Like, and guess what else? The kids, bro, started changing so drastically from one year to the next. I started noticing the boys were so emasculated and so feminine. Like, I'm not talking just a couple. As a whole, like 60, 70% of the boys were like fluid and like acting pretty gay. And like the girls were it was just like, it was like I landed on another fucking planet. And I finally said, I'm done. Like, this is not resonating with me anymore. And I felt bad that I was excusing myself from helping these kids, but dude, they were literally making it so hard for me to go to schools and speak on anti-bullying. I couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah. I mean, look, I don't give a fuck what people do. Do whatever you want. This is America, but I'm not gonna be forced to participate in your fucking delusion. And I don't think it's
No,
particularly. I don't think it's good for you either. We would set up an infrastructure for everyone to cater to your delusion, right? I mean, all that does is reinforce it. We wouldn't do that with any other thing. Although we do now. I mean, it's kind of taken a turn in the last 15 years or so where if you went into a doctor and you were an obese person, they would say you're gonna die if you don't stop
yeah,
this shit, right? Like
100%.
this is just a fact. A man with a belt with a waistline over 40 inches and a woman with a waistline over 34 inches has like a 50% higher chance of getting heart disease, of having high blood pressure leading to dementia and heart disease and all this other stuff. Heart disease is still the number one killer
Yeah.
in America.
Yep.
Like that, that's just a fucking fact. It's like, and now people are like, oh, you can be fat and healthy. It's like, no, you definitely
No.
can't. And in so many different ways, like the number one and two killers in the United States are heart disease and cancer, right? Heart disease is obvious. Like if you have visceral fat, you're fucked. You're just gonna die, right? If
Right,
you
right, right.
have it, but conversely, on the prophylactic side, the number one predictor of survivability of cancer is skeletal muscle mass. The more skeletal muscle mass you have, the more likely you are to survive any cancer, from melanoma to breast or colon cancer. That's also a fact.
Interesting.
So telling people that they can be fat and healthy is like handing a fucking handgun to a child. It's a loaded handgun to a child.
I agree with you.
They don't know enough to know that that's wrong. They don't know enough to treat it responsibly, so they're going to go out and become fucking diabetic and die. And it's like somebody at some point's got to take responsibility for this shit. The pharmaceutical industries and the health industry in this country.
This is all part of the engineered agenda, dude. They're not gonna fucking this helps the pharmaceutical companies. They just give you a pill, and then that pill has all these side effects that, guess what, other pills take care of, and then those pills have all these side effects that, guess what, other pills take care of. It's a vicious cycle of being unhealthy. That's America's medical system right there in a nutshell. So it's like they want you perpetually sick, so you keep going back to the doctors, keep feeding into the medical system. Did you know as well as I do, there's fucking cures out there for everything.
Mm-hmm.
They kill those people that find them. Do you see that Brazilian flight that just went down? There was like 60 man, how many doctors were on there?
It was 12 cancer doctors, 64 total people, and 12 cancer doctors.
Cures for cancer or looking for whatever, but they found it. I find that to be a little too coincidental.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty fucked up, to be honest. But yeah, they definitely there is a concerted effort to make people sick. Unclear if there are political motivations behind that. I'm sure. I mean, look, these days, who knows? But there's definitely financial motivations behind it. That's where the FDA gets created, and all of a sudden they present this food pyramid that's rife with nonsense. You shouldn't be following any of that stupid shit. You should be eating your weight at a minimum. If you're not like training really hard, you should be eating your weight in grams of protein a day for most people, right? And you want to get that from food and not supplements if you can. Supplements are okay depending on what they are and if they're good or not. But protein and fat will keep you healthy. That's just it, right?
Yeah. What's the big agenda right now? The big movement is vegans, and what are they trying to do? Take away our meat and poultry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This to me is with my station here, Nino's Corner.tv. That's all we talk about. We dive deep into the occult practices, the pagan beliefs. These fucking psychopaths that are running the world, these elitists that are engineering by design the downfall of America, the funding of these groups like LGBTQ, with the purpose of that. Why? They're going to put a P at the end. Pedophilia. I mean, this is all an agenda, dude. We're on top of this like white on rice, and and it all goes back to bloodlines, the whole thing, everything that people thought was a conspiracy. It's fucking fact, and it just goes so deep. And when you start going down the rabbit hole, it gets deeper and deeper and deeper. You can find yourself going so far down that it turns into a maze, but there's so many layers to this, dude. It's sickening, and how deep this really goes. To be quite honest with you, what got me back to believing in God, because I in my own awakening process, I kind of went away from it all, and I circled right back to the Bible, because this is all very biblical. This has to do with bloodlines, and it has to do with them believing that they are the chosen bloodline, and they want to fucking knock off 90% of the population of the world. I mean, it gets that it's that crazy.
Yeah.
It is that insane.
It reminds me of that movie In Time with Justin Timberlake. It's kind of a goofy movie.
That's a great movie.
Like they really are. I mean, it just illustrates what exactly government is. The reason that the United States was such a brilliant idea is because of the principle of federalism, where power is systematically set at the lowest possible level, right? And constitutionally so. Like it's different than the Magna Carta in the 13th century granting rights, right? The state granted people rights. Like you as a baron, it wasn't everybody, it was just landowners, right? You as a baron now have X, Y, and Z rights. It's like, all right, that's a decent start. The U.S. Constitution said, we're not granting rights, we're enumerating natural rights that come from God. That's what they said.
Right.
God or nature or whatever, right? Like this stuff exists, we're just saying it exists. We're not giving you rights. We don't have the ability to. The Constitution and the Bill of Rights actually limit the government, not the other way around. Correct. So that was the brilliance of it. But this is what government does, even in our system, which is more perfect than most. The the people that show up to run the government are lunatics. They're megalomaniacs that think they should be in charge, right?
Psychopaths.
Yeah,
They're fucking straight up psychopaths. They're no
so
different than serial killers. They have no conscience.
yeah, so like no system of government, including our own, is going to scale indefinitely. That's why federalism is so smart, because ultimately all government becomes an engine to extract labor and wealth from the population and to take your labor. Like, this is the point of libertarianism, is to be able to apply your own hand, your labor, the labor of your hands to the earth, and extract some value out of that, and then sell it and make wealth out of that, right? And having the
100%.
liberty to do that. That's what libertarian, at its base level, that's what libertarianism is. And that is such a threat to somebody that's trying to hoard resources, right? It's such a threat.
We've been infiltrated by communist Marxists, bro. I mean, you can just every president has been selected, not elected. The elections have been a fucking joke. And here we are now with a completely captured operation called America Inc. And here we are. Like, this is where we're at right now. And it's like, fuck, man. We got to, like, fumigate. We got to get rid of everybody in the fucking government like we're fumigating for termites. Seriously. Get every last one of these motherfuckers out.
Yeah.
That's really what it's come down to. That's where we're at, if you want to know the truth. So, to me, nothing. We can't leave one of these bastards in there that are.
Yeah, it's like termites, man. If you get most, if you get most of them, it won't work.
No, you got to get them all.
Yeah.
You can't leave one. You can't even leave one. So that's how I see it, and that's what our government is right now. So we got to get every last one of these cocksuckers out of there, bro, because it's a legitimate. We are done. Like, we are, and especially coming into this election. This is it, man. Like, this is not fucking. The choice is very clear. It's either the survival of America or the death of America. We go into socialism, which is a sliding scale that will get us right into communism. You think they're going to stop there at social? This is good. We're all good. Everyone gets an income, be universal income. You get Medicare. They're going to control your health. They're going to control your life. They're going to have you dead by the time you're fucking 30. You're going to be getting a social credit score, 15-minute cities, the whole thing. That's what they have. Human bondage, human slavery is what it's going to be if Kamala gets in there.
Yeah, I mean, she and her running mate are just, honestly, it's almost hard to believe that they're the nominees, frankly. I mean, this guy literally said one person's socialism is another person's neighborliness. Like, no, it's still socialism. You can fuck off with that bullshit, dude. There's too many. There are too many. One, we fought communism for a long time. We know what it is. And two, there are too many refugees from communist countries in the U.S. now who are like, don't listen to these people. They're fucking stupid.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's a lot of migrants here. They're like, dude, we fled from that. And now they're watching America turn into that. And they're freaking out, So, and there's nowhere to run. There's nowhere to go. Like, people say, well, get the hell out of this country. Where are you going to go, man? This is the last place.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going anywhere. I'm in Texas. They could suck my dick.
So am I.
They're going to have to run through a hail of gunfire if they want to fuck with me.
Yeah, and that's what did you see that the UK police commissioner talking about how he's going to extradite? Did you see this?
Extradite to be honest, here's what I've been doing. So, as soon as he said that bullshit, one of our sponsors is a VPN company, ExpressVPN. So I immediately told all of our listeners because thousands of them have ExpressVPN, change your location on the VPN to London and just start hammering these dudes. Tell them to fuck off. Call them, like, break every fucking rule they have. Fuck these guys. Yeah. By the way, if you think you're coming over to America to extradite people for saying words on the internet, you better bring a fucking pine box to travel home in, bitch.
Dude, I'm with you. And so what we cover on NinosCorner.tv is this, man. These immigrants that are coming here, I talked to a lot of people that have worked in defense and intelligence in the government that are now patrolling the border on their own dime. They're funding themselves. They've got terrorist camps in America right now with cells training for the right time to bring in chaos and civil unrest. Probably, if I had to guess, around election time. To stir up some kind of chaos. So these immigrants that are here, a lot of them are military age men. They're being outfitted with military grade weaponry. There's trucks blowing past ports of entries right now that are not being stopped, that are filled with military grade weaponry being brought here to these immigrants. And then you could say all you want, well, fuck that. I got my AR and I'm ready to go and I got Patriot friends. Well, that's what they want. They want you. So who's going to kick this off? It'll be the immigrants that kick off some kind of chaos in these cities that they're hoping you pick up your guns and go right after these immigrants. And then when this gets so bad, someone like a Kamala Harris will bring in our help, our peacekeepers, UN blue helmets, to come in and patrol the streets, and 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 this is honestly to God the plan. They want to create civil unrest, civil strife, civil chaos, to where they're able to bring in UN peacekeepers, or even dress them up in our own military fatigues to disguise them and have them patrol our streets as our units are deployed for other wars that are being started all over the world. It's a game plan. And I think this is going to kick off probably around and I think there's going to be any kind of terrorist cells activated. I would bet to guess it's going to happen around October, November.
Yeah. I mean, we have, we know for a fact, because I track and report on these things from sources inside of Border Patrol. Almost 500 people on the terror watch list have been allowed into the country over the last 3.5 years. Now, 9/11 was 19 dudes and 6 additional people who were here facilitating.
Okay, but hold on. We're not counting MS-13. These
no. This is just
Yeah.
Arab people on the terror watch
Yeah.
list. This doesn't include the Chinese. This doesn't include fucking Central American.
Yeah.
None of that shit.
Yeah, this is bad, bro.
Yeah, it could get rough.
And
So
then
stay
I also
frosty.
got the numbers. I don't know if you got the real numbers, but it's 30 to 35 million people that have come here since Biden, not 20.
I don't know if
30.
we'll ever really know, to be honest. Like it's at least 20 for sure, right? And
For the
that's
first time, I've had friends calling me, "Hey man, you need your house cleaned." I'm like, "Why? What? I got this person from Venezuela." I'm like, "Dude, I'm not fucking." Like, bro, what? It used to just be the lady from Juarez that used to cross the bridge and pick her up and she clean your house. Now it's like all these Venezuelans are here, and what they do is they come clean your house and then they call their boyfriend and tell me, "Hey, this door's open, this window's open, fucking this is his alarm system." They're scouting people's houses, bro. That's what they do. Like it's fucking. I tell my friends, I'm like, you're an idiot. I mean, there's no way to do a background check. Oh, they're cheap. I'm like, of course they're cheap, dude. They're gonna come and fucking rob your house later.
yeah.
But that doesn't have to be in a week or 2 weeks. It could be in a couple months. But you're gonna get it. I mean, dude, that's what they do. And then lately, like in the neighborhoods, um, we've had solicitors come in and like, hey, do you need your car detailed or this or that, and they're not from here. And it's just like I'm watching this like all around the nice neighborhoods in the suburban areas. They're walking around, and I pull up right next to them like, "Que onda, way?" And they're like, "Oh, ¿dónde eres? Venezuela." I'm like, "Get the fuck out of here."
Yeah.
I tell them, "I go,
Yeah.
and then they, muévete, puto, and they leave. And I don't. Every time I see them in the neighborhoods, I go up to them, I pull up next to them, I'm like, "Get the fuck out of here," and I tell them. I even get out of my truck, and they're like, "Órale, órale," and then they leave. I No one's doing that. Nobody's doing that. I'm the only one doing that. Like I'm not gonna. I want them to know like there's a crazy fucker that lived over there that if he sees you walking around the neighborhoods, he stops you. So that's what I do. And I see him on the corners right here next to Walgreens. This family and this dude was yelling at a lady because she wasn't giving him his change. He's tienes cambio, and she's like, "No, I don't have any." And I told him, I go, "Muévete, puto, get out of here." And then he never came back. So you got to stand. That's all they know. That's the language these dudes know. These immigrants. They don't. They look at you. They look at Americans like easy prey. Like I've hung out with these guys my entire life, like from Juarez and stuff. I know how these guys think. They look at these people. If you don't stand up for yourself, immediately they take advantage of you. Their life is crime. Their life is the next hit. That's how they survive. They look at. We've been dude. We've been complacent, sedentary. I can't, obviously the veterans are a whole nother world. I'm not talking about veterans, but I'm talking about Americans as a whole. Dude, they're soft. They're soft. They're obese. They're sick. and they look at us like easy fucking prey. You know, do you think they in South America they got jobs and shit, bro? Bro, their life is crime. It's about who can they take advantage of, get the next hit, and move on.
Yeah.
That's how they think.
Yeah, nobody in the U.S. government is doing a goddamn thing about it.
They don't give a fuck,
Yeah,
dude.
I
This
mean,
is all orchestrated.
yeah.
They just want to fatten their pockets. They're all compromised.
Yeah, I agree with that. Tell everybody, this is good stuff, man. Tell everybody, we got to get out of here, but tell everybody where they can find your show so they can listen. And
Nino's Corner.tv. That's where I'm at. That's where we cover everything on the Deep State War. Nino's Corner.tv and Nino's Corner on YouTube. Thank you for having me, man.
yeah, for sure, man. Anytime. Thanks for coming. We really appreciate the conversation.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man.
God bless you, man.
Yeah, you too, buddy. And thank you all for listening. This has been Citizen.